Hey there, welcome to Neppy Invest. So in today's video, I'll be showing you how I spot for sustainable breakouts. And I'll be using a few examples from the past and then get into more modern times, modern scenarios that are at play right now. We're looking at possible examples of breakouts happening right as we speak, or I speak. And so in the past, we're going to be talking about companies that weren't quite famous then, so that includes Altium. So if you go back to 2011, not many people would have heard of Altium, not many people would have heard of Northern Star, and not many people would have heard of MNF Phone, which is called MNF Group. We'll also be looking at Fortescue. A few years ago, they had a breakout, a little bit of a different example there. And then looking at the last few months, AVA Risk Group, which looks at this stage to be the perfect example of a sustainable breakout happening. Also looking at Australia, Papyrus, which had a good breakout, actually a three-pronged breakout over the past 4 or 5 months. And then finally, I'll be looking at Spectur, which had a potential breakout a few days ago, but we won't know if it's a sustainable breakout for about a few years or so, because a sustainable breakout means that increase in share price will occur over many years, and that would be a perfect situation for me and for other shareholders, because that's what we all want, increased share price over the long term. So let's get into the first company, and that is MNF Phone, or they're called MNF Group, so they changed their name. And if we go back to 2011, start of 2012, this company was illiquid. The shares weren't trading very much. The market wouldn't say hate, but it didn't really like this company. If you held this company, it was hard to get in and out. So it was... shareholders were looking for some sort of catalyst to take this company forward, and it happened on the 23rd of April 2012. The transformational announcement for MNF Phone, and it was an earnings upgrade, and that's my two favorite words in the announcement: earnings upgrade. I love to see any sort of announcement that has those two words in it, because it means, or usually means, good things are going to happen in regards to it. So on this particular day, we saw a massive increase in share price, concurrently a massive increase in volume, and that actually was sustainable over the next few years, because it became a 10-bagger over 3 or 4 years. And so all it was an upgrade in upgrade in earnings or profit, a 30% upgrade, and a 173% increase over the previous year's profit. So that's all it took. And that's what I'm always looking for when I read the announcements every day, is this sort of an announcement, earnings upgrade. Next company is Altium. So just like MNF Phone, Altium had a transformational period in 2012, and they went from a very liquid company. The shares weren't trading much at all in January 2012, and by the end of 2012, in December, the share price had increased 6 times by that stage. So it went from about 18 cents to about $1.30, and it was much more liquid, and that's what you want to see. So it's actually one thing I do look for, is a company going through a liquid phase to a liquid phase. And the main catalyst behind Altium's transformational year was their August 31 year results, and we saw a substantial increase in profits, operating cash flow, and they also issued a dividend. At this point in their life cycle, Altium, they were generating revenue. So in 2011, they produced $50.6 million in revenue, and that increased to $61 million in 2012. But the big things here, big increases here, was profit. Increased profit from -7 to $6 million. Operating cash flow went from $3 million to $8.5 million, and they issued that dividend, which was 5 Australian cents. So this was the transformational announcement. And we saw the share price increase on the day, went from about, say, 42, 43 cents to about 50 cents. And then there would have been some people saying, oh, no, why would you buy now? Recency bias takes effect. And they say it's, it's 50 cents or so. It's a few weeks ago, I could have bought it at 38 cents. So why would I buy it now? But if you just see the share price on that day, on future subsequent days, the share price just took off. And that's a very bullish sign. So if you did buy on this particular day, or even subsequent days, you would have made really good money, because the share price went from, say, 50 cents, and it's now $36 or so. So you would have made over 70 times your money in about 8 plus years. So that's exactly what I'm looking for, this sort of announcement, this sort of yearly results where we see massive increase in profits, cash flow, and even, I'm not sure if it's the first dividend they did do, but it was one of their first dividends. A little bit of different announcement here from Northern Star. This was definitely a transformational announcement. It was an acquisition. I have a harder time reading acquisitions because sometimes I don't really know if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing for a company. So I'll say I'm a little bit more wary of these sort of announcements compared to, say, an earnings upgrade, or if I see a yearly report that's with increasing profits, increasing cash flow. But this was a transformational announcement from Northern Star. Management did a really good job with this acquisition, and the market reacted quite differently. So on this day, so it was early May 2010, you can see this candlestick, a very long upper wick, which suggests there was a lot of selling on the day. So the share price went as high as 11 cents, but closed at 6 cents. So a lot of selling. I think a lot of those sellers were profit takers, short-term traders, or maybe previous or holders who had held on for the long term and were looking for an opportunity to sell out. But if they held on for the long term, they would have been much better off. So what I did was I actually went to Hot Copper forums just to see the mood of shareholders at the time, see if I can learn anything from that. And there was one really interesting post. I don't include his name here, but he mentioned a few things which was really interesting. So he said, I reckon I bought a dud, my worst buy of 2010, and a dirty dog of a share. So sentiment was low among some shareholders, as you can see here. He might have, I think, dumped the shares soon after this, but if he held on, he would have made 300 times his money on that day. So if he held $5,000 worth of shares, he would have become a millionaire. So I hope he doesn't look back at this and went, what was I thinking? But in this sort of thing, this sort of acquisition, I am looking for acquisitions like this, but again, I have a harder time. I'm a bit more wary, as I've said, in regards to these sort of announcements compared to earnings upgrade. Fortescue, this was a company I bought in because the technicals showed a change in trend in late 2018, early 2019, and then we had a Vale mine disaster, and that gave the impetus for the rapid increase in share price in Fortescue and other iron ore companies. So that happened, that Vale mine disaster, which was a good thing for Fortescue and its shareholders, happened on 25th of January 2019. So it had two things going Fortescue's way here: technical breakout and a Vale mine disaster, which meant they're going to see more money come into the business. So see a lot of volume on about 5 trading days here. So that's a very bullish sign and exactly what I'm looking for, high volume on increasing share price. Now let's get more to some modern companies, and the first company I'll be looking at is AVA Risk Group. So for disclosure purposes, I am a shareholder of this company. I've been a shareholder for a little bit of time, held before this breakout, but this was an Appendix 4C, or the quarterly cash flow report. So if you don't know me by now, you know that I look at quarterly cash flow reports quite closely, and I'm looking at these sort of announcements. So this is one of the best quarterly cash flow reports I've seen from a company. So this was released late July this year, and they had receipts from customers 15.7 million and were cash flow positive 4 million. So you can see how closely this resembles the Altium announcement. That was more of a yearly report. This is a quarterly cash flow report, so a little bit different, but close. Again, both looking at the financials of the company and increasing or improving financials of the company. So share price increased from about 19 cents to 25 cents, and share price has just been going up since then. Really increasing volumes too. You can see a massive spike in volume on that day where I've marked it here. And as I said before, even though the share price traded sideways for about a month, we just saw the share price go up from here, and right now it's around 68 to 70 cents. So if you bought in on this day or subsequent days, you would have made some good money. So the next company I'll look at is Australia Papyrus. This is not a company I own, but this is a 3-pronged breakout happening over a few months. The first breakout happened in late August So around this, there was no reason for this breakout. In fact, the ASX did issue Papyrus with a price query. So price query is just questioning Papyrus, why is their share price increasing on increasing volume? In early October, they had a cornerstone, as I've written here, cornerstone investor coming into the company. But the big one was the next one in early November. That was a sales progress, a very bullish sales progress, massive volume, massive increase in share price. And we're seeing a symmetrical triangle play out here, which is a quite bullish technical sign. So even though I'm fairly bullish on the company and I don't own it, you can still be bullish on companies if you don't own. So this is one company I'm quite bullish on, even though I don't own it. And the last company I'm going to look at is a company that had an announcement a few days ago, and that is Spectur. I've already done a video on this company. So two things here that is fairly significant is the increase in share price. So at the end of the day, we saw the share price increase 32% or so. At one point, it was up 60%. And that coincided with a massive spike in volume. In fact, the volume traded on the day was 25 million shares. And that's actually a quarter of the shares on issue. So a lot of trading, probably day traders got into the company. And in fact, the other thing I like to see is how does that relate to previous or the life of the company in itself. And it was 7 times greater than the next biggest trading day. So that's actually very bullish. The market really liked this announcement. So the announcement here, I haven't listed it here. You can have a look at my video. But it was a sales progress and pipeline update. It was fairly bullish. And the market liked it just as I liked it as well. And the other important thing is how the market reacts in subsequent days. I'd really like to look at that. And we've seen the share price go sideways, potentially forming a symmetrical triangle, just like Australia Papyrus. And the main thing here is we don't see a rapid decrease in share price. So what's happening now is there's going to be some profit takers, and those profit takers, those sellers are being matched by a buyer. So there's enough buyers willing to buy those stock that the sellers or profit takers are willing to sell, and that's actually quite good. So that's all I've got. Hope you've learned a little bit from this video on spotting or how I spot sustainable breakouts. I'm always on the lookout. Every day we see trading. Always look at announcements. Look for those special words, earnings upgrade, and even acquisitions I look at. So if you have any questions about what I look for, leave a comment. If you like any sort of clarification on anything I've done here, leave a comment. Maybe I can do another video on that. So sometimes I'm maybe not so quite sure that I'm maybe going over some people's head with what I do. So just because it might be simple for me, it may not be simple for other people. So anyway, again, I'm not a professional advisor. So if you need some professional advice based off your own financial circumstances, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own circumstances. So that's all for this video. Have a good day, and I'll speak to you soon. See ya.